The life of Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809, a few miles south of Hodgenville, Kentucky. When Lincoln was 7 years old, his father was faced with a lawsuit challenging the title of his farm, so he moved his family to Indiana. The next 14 years of his life spent in Indiana were extremely rough. He and his family survived off minimal amounts of crops that they grew and the few animals that they killed. Lincoln was 9 when he experienced the unhappiest moment of his childhood, his mother Nancy's death. A year later, Lincoln's father brought home a new wife from Kentucky. Her name was Sarah Bush Johnston Lincoln. She was a widow and had 2 children of her own. She was very fair and had affection left to spare. At the age of 21, Lincoln moved to Illinois and settled in the small town of New Salem. After arriving in New Salem, he had no desire to become a farmer. He instead tried many different occupations such as a storekeeper, postmaster, and a surveyor. During the Black Hawk War, Lincoln enlisted and was deemed as the captain of his company. Afterwards, he joked about never fighting anyone except the mosquitoes. His warm sense of humor and storytelling abilities led him to many new friends in New Salem, eventually bringing him into the new world of politics. Lincoln lost his first election for a seat in the Illinois state legislature, but later won his first out of 4 terms in 1834. In 1836, Lincoln passed the Illinois bar exam and began to practice law. He tried cases in Springfield and all over Illinois and became widely known for his legal skills, honesty, humor, and fairness. His reputation as a lawyer started to increase dramatically. Lincoln ran for a spot in the U.S. Congress in 1846 and won. While in Congress, Lincoln criticized America's participation in the Mexican-American War. However, he still helped Zachary Taylor, a hero of that war, win the presidency in 1848. Lincoln promised only 1 term and never ran for re-election. For about 5 years, Lincoln took very minimal part in politics. However, in 1854, his political rival Stephen A. Douglas got a bill through Congress for reopening the Louisiana Purchase to slavery, leaving it up to popular sovereignty to decide if a state were to have slaves or not. Lincoln became a part of the Republican Party. Prominent Republicans began to talk about attracting Douglas to the party, but Lincoln opposed this. He challenged Democrat Stephen Douglas to a spot in the Senate. Lincoln had a series of debates against Stephen Douglas all across Illinois over the issue of slavery in new states. Douglas believed that new states should be able to legalize slavery. Lincoln deeply opposed the extension of slavery in new territories. Lincoln eventually lost the Senate seat to Stephen Douglas, but his heated debates against him brought him national recognition, so much that he ran for president in 1860 as a Republican. In the election of 1860, with the Republicans united and the Democrats divided, Lincoln won and became president in 1861. Before his inauguration, South Carolina secedes and 6 more states follow. By the time he finally takes office on March 6, 1861, the country is already falling apart. The nation was unable to settle the question about slavery and was willing to go to war. On the 12th of April, Confederates fired on Fort Sumter, signaling the beginning of the American Civil War. In the beginning of the war, it was clear that the North had a big advantage. They had better transportation, more food and supplies, and had more soldiers. Although abolishing slavery was not the original intent of the Civil War, it became soon apparent that the slaves were a big factor to the South. In the summer of 1862, Lincoln finally decided to sign the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing all the slaves in the Confederate States. This had a huge effect on the Confederate States because they were seeking support from Britain and France. However, both of those countries are against slavery, so they would refuse to ally with the Confederacy. With the rise of the Peace Democrats, people that wanted an immediate peace settlement with the Confederates, Lincoln suspended the habeas corpus. The habeas corpus guarantees accused individuals to the right of a hearing. This made it so that officers could arrest anyone interfering with the war and keep them in jail until the war was over. During the Civil War, Lincoln struggled to find an aggressive general for his army. After the resignation of Scott, he put George McClellan in charge. However, he was too slow and cautious, which lost him many battles. He tried a succession of generals including Burnside, Hooker, and Meade, but was disappointed with each of them. Finally, Lincoln found his general in U.S. Grant. With the president's support, Grant pursued a policy of total war, attacking not only the Confederate soldiers but their economy as well. By the fall of 1864, Grant was winning more battles and turned the tide of the war, which helped Lincoln win his re-election. President Lincoln delivered the Gettysburg Address on November 19, 1863 during the honor of the Gettysburg National Cemetery. It is dedicated to the thousands of soldiers who died during the Battle of Gettysburg. It is considered to be one of the finest speeches in the English language. In the April of 1865, around a year after Grant was put in charge, the Confederates surrendered. The massive war had left the country torn in two. However, Lincoln initiated Reconstruction. Unlike many Republicans, he felt like it was unfair to punish the South, and pursued Reconstruction in which the South was given considerable treatment. However, before Lincoln could start his Reconstruction plan, he was shot by John Wilkes Booth on April 14, 1865 in Ford Theater. He died the next morning.